the reason that medical expenses are so high is because of government, which is supposedly going to cure the thing. It's very similar with Food and Drug Administration. The FDA approved thalidomide. Well, they didn't prohibit thalidomide, and thalidomide was a good morning sickness drug. In the first trimester, pregnant women cough up their guts, and this solved it, but then in 2 or 3% of the cases, the babies came out malformed. So that was a type 1 error, approving of a bad drug. Now they do type 2 errors. Anyone wants to come up with a new drug, it takes 10 years and umpteen dollars, zillions of dollars to get it approved, and then people die because they can't get the drug, or they have to go to Mexico, or they have to go to India or some other place like that. Much better would be, so we're not against certification, we're against licensure. Much better would be groups like Testing Labs, Consumer Report, Good Housekeeping, Kosher, Moody's, Standard & Poor for drugs. So a new drug or a new doctor gets approved not by a licensing agency if it's licensed. If you're not licensed, you can't practice, but by a certification agency, sort of like the CPA, Certified Public Accountant. If we did that, we would have much more control of our drugs and food and on a competitive basis. Let me talk about, I don't know, I have a whole bunch of areas that I could talk about. Tenure. Someone criticized tenure. What about academic tenure? Is academic tenure incompatible with libertarianism? No. Academic tenure is just a long-term contract. There was this guy, Jeremy Lin, L-I-N, basketball player from Harvard, which means he can't play, plus he's Oriental, so he can't play. And he was in one NBA team after another, he was at the back of the bench and finally had a few games for the New York Knicks. Have you heard of this? Insanity? It's very hard to tell if a young kid is going to be a star or not. And if you think he is, what you do is you offer him a long-term contract. Well, it's the same in academics. If you think someone's going to be a star, you offer him tenure. All tenure is a lifetime, or not lifetime, but up until you retire, a long-term contract. So are long-term contracts incompatible with libertarianism? No. If it's mutually agreed upon, there's no problem. Let me give you my, can libertarians be concentration camp guards? Okay, so here's the situation. A concentration camp guard kills 100 people a day. Jews, gypsies, blacks, gays, whatever. 100 people. And now I'm a libertarian, and what I want to do is I want to become a concentration camp guard, and I'll only kill 90. I have to kill 90 because if I don't kill 90, they'll see me that I'm not a good concentration camp guard, but I can only kill 90, and I save 10 people a day. And now it's a year later, and 365 times 10, I've saved 3,650 people. And now the war ends, and I'm up in front of the libertarian Nuremberg trial. And I'm accused of murder, and I admit it. There's no prevarication here. I admit I killed 90 people a day, but I saved 10, and I say that my motivation was to save 10 a day and stipulate that if anyone else was a concentration guard, he wouldn't have saved those 3,650 people. And my analysis of this is that if any one of the heirs of the people I killed demands that I be put to death because that would be an appropriate punishment, let's again stipulate, well then I have to be executed. But first you have to hold the ticker tape parade for me, and you have to give me a medal, a libertarian medal of heroism, and then I die. So libertarianism is a complicated thing. The first shot at it is do not invade, do not engage in uninvited border crossing, do not murder. But I think beneath that, if you look beneath the surface of what libertarianism is, it's a theory of punishment. It says if you do that, here is the punishment. A little convoluted. Let me end with one last attempt to apply libertarianism to a controversial, not that that was a controversial issue, I just made that one up. But here's a controversial issue, abortion. How many people are pro-life here? How many people are pro-choice? Okay. This is one of the most complicated issues facing our society today because you have something good to be said on both sides. On the one hand, I think that a human being starts with a fertilized egg. I stipulate this in my publications on abortion. One, because I think it's true, because a sperm alone won't do much and an egg alone won't do much, but if you put them together in the right environment, a human being comes up, and a human being is a continuous thing. You know, with a fertilized egg, it doesn't really look human, but it is. And a day before birth, the baby is well formed. And also, I am going to come out for killing babies under certain circumstances, so I want to make the case as hard for myself as possible. I don't want to have a strong legal argument. What I say is that the proper libertarian view on abortion is neither pro-life nor pro-choice, but a third thing called evictionism. Now, what abortion is really a complicated or a two-stage thing. One, it's evicting, and two, it's killing. You know what partial birth abortion is? They take a baby who's 8.5 months old, and they go in there and they suck out its brain and they pull it out dead. So that would be killing. What I say is they have no right to kill. They only have a right to evict. And if we adopted this policy right now of evictionism but no killing, right now all babies in the third trimester would be saved, because they are viable outside the womb. And as medical science progresses, in 10 years or 15 years, maybe babies in the 5th month, and then 20 years later, maybe babies in the 4th month, and eventually all babies in 500 years, will be able to be viable outside of the womb, and they'll all be saved. But what about the criticisms of this? Because right now, my claim is that in the first trimester, you can evict, and that will mean killing of a human being. And we just did say that murder is no good, but I regard the unwanted baby. And so this idea that having sexual intercourse is equivalent to an invitation is not always true. But look, suppose I invite you up in my airplane, and now we're at 30,000 feet, and I don't have any parachute for you. And I say, well, you know, it's nice visiting, but you'll have to leave. Well, here there's an implicit contract when I invite you to an airplane that I'll bring you back down as I treat you as I would treat myself. Now, I'm not against implicit contracts. If you buy a cup of coffee in a restaurant and you drink it down and then they present you with a bill for $1 trillion, you have an implicit contract with them that if they want to charge you such an unusual amount of money for a cup of coffee, they have to make it very clear. And if they don't, you don't own any $1 trillion. So I agree with implicit contracts, but there's no implicit contract that you have to bring up the baby. First of all, for there to be an implicit contract, there have to be two parties. And let's forget about the father, because there is such a thing as, what is it called, where the father and the mother, me and my wife say can't have a baby and we hire somebody. Surrogate mother, thanks. Now, in the surrogate mother contract, then she can't just evict, when it would mean killing, or even evict at any time, but she signed a contract to keep it for 9 months. So forget about surrogate contracts. Forget about the father. Because if there was a contract, then obviously she can't evict. But suppose the father is out of the picture. Did she make a contract with the baby? An implicit contract with the baby? No, because you have to have two parties to a contract. And let me explain the birds and the bees here. Sexual intercourse occurs, and then the sperm starts moving up somewhere. Don't ask me, I'm not a biologist. And then 10 minutes later or an hour later, you get the fertilized egg. So at the time of intercourse, there was no other person. There wasn't a fertilized egg at the time of intercourse. So there can't have been a contract with the fertilized egg. So this is a rather complicated issue, but what I'm trying to do is show you the beauty of libertarian theory. Libertarian theory is a beautiful thing. It can apply to pretty much everything. And I gave you a list of other things that I really can't get into because I'm running out of time now, like unionism or other things, but maybe during the question period we can get into some of them. Thanks for your attention.
Streamline the working of the government because you think that that legitimizes the government. For example, you don't want to help government improve the taxation, the method of taxation, because you think why legitimize the government and improve the quality of government, which is inherently illegitimate entity. Similarly, you say school voucher system would be a great thing for public schools. It would be an improvement for the public school, should I say? But it would, you still don't want to support it because it would legitimize the state-run public school. So, using the same logic, why do you not go against